What up, y'all? It's ttarn. Today we're going to be talking about a new idea for Pokemon Legends EA. Of course, Mega Evolution is returning in these games, right? I wanted to talk to y'all about Gamefreak's conundrum concerning gimmicks in Pokemon and why there might be a new feature to Mega Evolution or a new Mega Evolution type that would exist alongside what we know Mega Evolution as in Legends EA. You'll understand in a second. So the start to this is why they created stuff like G-Maxes, Terrasto, and Z Crystals. The main thing is after they finished making Mega Evolutions and Pokemon like Glalie and all got a lot of love, especially after such a long time since we got like new evolutions in Pokemon and all, Game Freak instantly realized something, which is that the 48 Mega Evolutions are pretty much pivotal to everyone's teams. In the main game, you're gonna have one of these 46 Pokemon on your team, and in the meta game, every trainer is gonna have one of these 46 species on their team, and it creates a focus on them rather than what Pokemon is really about, which is catching whatever Pokemon you want and being able to use them. Even though it doesn't really make sense because some Pokemon are just strong, some Pokemon just suck, even though I try to use them, so you kind of have to lean towards the good ones anyway. But the idea is Mega Evolution only benefits a few Pokemon, and this is what sucks about it. So in the next games directly after Mega Evolution, when they thought of a new gimmick, they made Z Crystals, which is something you can give to any Pokemon. And even though we didn't do it because the animation lasted so long, any Pokemon had this gimmick. And in the metagame, this actually created something interesting where people would run real interesting Z Crystals on Pokemon. Like for example, the Grass Z Crystal on Heatran. To counter its big weakness to ground, they could give it a move that it wouldn't even be able to learn through the Z Crystal. So it's very interesting, and Heatran doesn't have a Mega or anything, right? So it allowed the whole spectrum of Pokemon to gain access to this gimmick. And Game Freak thought this was in the right direction. And Pokemon fans too did enjoy that a lot. Then we get to the next generation. The next gimmick they go with is Dynamax. And this one, you already know what I'm gonna say. Every Pokemon can Dynamax, and they get that buff from it. They get double the HP, they get access to all of these mini Z-move like moves, and max guard. And it was a gimmick where you could have fun with any Pokemon rather than what Mega Evolution did, and Dynamax anything. This one also had a similar problem to Z Crystals, where Z Crystals had a long animation. Dynamaxing, it had a long animation and you could only use it like 6 times in the whole game. But even that added such a fun element in Wi-Fi battling where people would strategically Dynamax at the right moment if they can't survive an attack to double their health and then survive it and deal a blow that's real important. Or some more nuanced things like if you're choice banded, you can Dynamax and break free from your choice band, pick from moves, and then go back to your choice band. It gets crazy, but the point is any Pokemon got access to this and was much more beneficial than Mega Evolution. We go to another generation later. After Dynamax came Terrastals. Terrastalizing is a very fun gimmick that any Pokemon can use, and we actually had a lot of fun with it in the main game because you could continuously use it. It wasn't like Dynamaxing where it was really only for like gym battles. And as you can see in the trailers leading up to Scarlet and Violet, they showed a fun metagame purpose for Terrastalizing too. Like if I'm a T-Tar, I Terrastalize into a Ghost to avoid that lethal fighting attack. Pokemon has had so much more fun since making gimmicks widespread. And the looming issue of Mega Evolution wasn't something they were gonna have to address for a while because we thought what would come next was Johto games and then Unova games. And one day we'll talk about Mega Evolution. But then they put out that trailer and showed right now Mega Evolution is returning. 3 gens after X and Y came out, Gen 6 were already in its 2nd season. And now the issues come to resurface, which is Mega Evolution is not the most ideal gimmick for Game Freak. They don't like it as much as what they built over here with Dynamaxes, Z Crystals, and Terrastalizing. Fans like Mega Evolution, but this one is what's more widespread to each Pokemon, and this is what creates the issue because the concept hasn't changed that these gimmicks are the better ones. And so this is when we get to the solution to this. This is a solution to a second Mega Evolution problem. My solution to the first one was what I already covered with the unevolved situation. Man, if that passes, that'll be so hilarious. This is the solution to the second issue, which is that not every Pokemon can Mega Evolve. They could decide to just keep full continuity on Mega Evolution and do it the same way. You get like 20 new Mega Evolution species. It's gonna be one of those rare gimmicks where it's not for every Pokemon. Once we're past Legends EA, we'll go back to widespread gimmicks. That could be the situation, but since Mega Evolution is the only gimmick that stands out right now, I'm gonna propose a theory that maybe Gamefreak is gonna change Mega Evolution and make it into something, it's gonna sound weird, but that every Pokemon can use. And it's gonna be something like this. This kind of goes to that theory I made about empty Megastones, but it's not gonna be that deep. The point is, when you get stuff like the Alakazite, the TyranitarTube, they seem to be templates that allow these Pokemon to temporarily evolve further. But this whole gimmick with you connecting with your Pokemon through a keystone and their Mega Ring, it sounds like something that can be done on a smaller scale. So here's what I'm gonna say. They are gonna introduce something in Legends ZA that is a lesser Mega Evolution. You're gonna get something early on in the game that's just called Megastone Shard. And when you give this to a Pokemon like, this is Kalos, so we'll say Talonflame, Talonflame gets a little button where you would see the 4 icons. There would be a button there where Mega Evolution would be. This shard would be pretty much a smaller piece of what true Megastones are. And so they allow you to tap into something on the first level of what Mega Evolution is. It might say just power up instead of Mega Evolution, but I'm gonna say it's most fitting to call it Mega Power. That would be the button you push. So not Mega Evolution, Mega Power. And when you trigger this and use it on Talonflame, Talonflame gets like a Mega Evolution animation, but it comes out just looking more like a totem Pokemon, where it's just glowing more. And a stat would increase. This would be something I would dub like a lesser Mega Evolution connection, where you're still tapping into the same phenomenon that Mega Evolution is, but the Megastone that seems pivotal in how that Pokemon is able to transform, the Alakazam, it's that Alakazite that allows it to branch into that. You simply just have a generic Mega Evolution piece. So you can only tap into a little piece of power, but because it's not formed into a template like the other Megastones and it's just a shard, it is a widespread gimmick. It's on just the first layer of what the gimmick really is. And so any Pokemon can use it and tap into that. Even Pokemon like Alakazam, you could give this Mega Evolution shard to, and instead of Mega Evolving, it would just get a stat increase. Also, in case it didn't seem obvious, this wouldn't replace Mega Evolution. It exists alongside it. Honestly, because Legends Arceus had no gimmick, Legends ZA does sound very possible to just have the classic Mega Evolution we know. They don't have to do that whole make it widespread crap. But I'm just here trying to think up the answers to help Gamefreak out. And so Gamefreak, this is how the Mega Evolution shard would work. There are 2 paths to how this could go. I'm going to tell you the first path, which is just that Pokemon, when they do this Mega Evolution shard power up, that it raises just whatever stat they excel in by 1 stage, which is something Pokemon has done before, where they specifically identify what a Pokemon's strongest stat is to keep in mind to make use of it with an ability. So you've got Beast Boost, which takes into the stat and boosts it. You've got what the Paradox Pokemon have, with the Electric Train and the Drought, that boosts their main stat as well, Photosynthesis and Quark Drive. So in the same way, when you trigger this power up, it would just boost this stat. And this is interesting, right? Because when I first start to say this idea, you'll start to realize that sometimes this sounds better than Mega Evolution. Like, if you just gave this to Alakazam and its special attack went up by 50%, that's kind of better than Mega Alakazam. And that's all you gotta leave it as. You pick your poison. Do you want the complete transformation of Mega Alakazam, which comes with a new ability, a potential new typing, and various other stats? It's a more well-rounded transformation. This would be tapping into it on the surface level, and in some cases could be better than the template that Mega Evolution tries to lock these Pokemon into. And this is interesting because it just opens up such a fun idea throughout the whole metagame. And these would take up the same slot. You know, you would not be able to Mega Evolve a Pokemon and do this lesser transformation in one battle. It would take up your whole Mega Evolution slot. I want to say this item is something they might give you at the very start of the game. And this is less locking than it is to get a Kanto starter and then one of the Kanto Megastones at the start, right? You would just get this in the same way that Nemona gives you the Terrasto band. And you can just freely do that surface level power up on any Pokemon. you catch a Pidgey in the Lumiose grass, you can give it the Mega Evolution Shard. You can do that fast transformation, boosted stats, whoop Pokemon's ass. And other trainers in Lumiose would have this as well. And what this would also do is build up a backstory to the modern day Mega Evolution that we have. You'll see a lot more trainers having it, and they'd be gathering the pieces to understand what Mega Evolution is by the end of the game. So it's like you're living in an era where a lot of people are using these Mega Evolution shards, and maybe by the end of the game they properly understand what Mega Evolution is. Then you get to Pokemon X and Y, where it's been a long time since they've understood what Mega Evolution is. So that's the first way I must say these Mega Evolution shards would work. That's actually also the other odd thing about modern day Mega Evolution. Diantha, Lysander, Corina, who else used it? It kinda sucks that you don't get to really be threatened by enemies using Mega Evolution on you. In this case, you might have just a bunch of trainers around Legend Z. I would say maybe like 15, 20 throughout the whole game that would be using Mega Evolution against you. Members of the evil team, the evil team's leader, maybe the equivalent of wardens that Legends Arceus had in these games. You'd be having a lot more fun with fighting Mega Evolutions in this game. And that includes the surface power-up I'm talking about. So that's the first way I would say this Mega Evolution shard could work. And shard also works, right? Because meteorite shards, this is terminology that Pokemon been using. So the second way that this Mega Evolution shard could work is that it's not just a Mega Evolution shard. That's not just what the held item is. There are 5 of them. There's Mega Evolution shard attack, defense, special attack, special defense, and speed. And at the start of the game, the professor equivalent would just let you pick one of the 5. And so you'd go on your journey with only, for example, the speed Mega Evolution shard. And then along the way, you might find a Mega Evolution shard special attack on the ground in a cave somewhere. And you can add these to your arsenal until you have all 5. And then you can really pick what you want to use. And the reason I'm saying this is so that you would take your Pokemon, so we'll use Talonflame as an example, rather than the game already picking which stat it would boost, that you can actually pick the stat itself. And this opens up a real cool aspect to the metagame, where for example, you would think you would give Talonflame like the attack Mega Evolution shard. So you'd transform it and its attack would go up a level. But you could get fun situations where they instead raise its special defense and they make like a tanky Talonflame to take an attack. Or something fun people do with T-Tars is they make it a special attacker with Flamethrower and Thunderbolt and Surf and all to try to trick people. So when people go into physically defensive Pokemon on your T-Tar, that you actually one-shot them because you're aiming for their special defense. So you could give a T-Tar the Mega Evolution shard for special attack, boost its special attack far better than what Mega T-Tar special attack would be, and destroy the enemy. That's the second way this could work. And the reason this would be better, I'd say, is because you have more of a journey collecting these Mega Evolution shards rather than just having one, and that's universal for the whole game aside from actual Mega Stones. I have an idea which one would make more sense to Gamefreak, but you know. So overall, I want y'all to picture how your journey in Legends Z would go with this as the context now. You get this Mega Evolution shard. You're not even ultimately focused on finding the Mega Stones. You're happy just using your shard and swapping it to a different Pokemon that's your favorite. Or you get 6 shards and you just give one to all of your Pokemon, and whenever you feel like it, just like whenever you feel like Terastallizing, you do that Mega Evolution power up. Then when you run into a Mega Stone like the Pidgeotite and you have a Pidgeot on your team, you can swap that shard for the Pidgeotite and be more surprised that you found a Mega Stone rather than that being your only way of using the gimmick. If I'm explaining this right, it actually adds to the adventure vibe a lot. And this also allows for when you start your adventure and you catch that Fletchinder in the grass, you can already start to use the gimmick on that. So that's pretty much it. That's my idea for Legends Z and a new feature they could introduce for how Mega Evolution works. Y'all let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let's see if Gamefreak wants to take this idea. Let's see if I've predicted the future. Shank that like button. You can email me here if you want to try to break this theory. I'm always happy to being wrong, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.